Oh, there we go. Oh my gosh, this is
Welcome, guys, to this week's podcast. I'm Charlie Peterson, joined by Jace Peterson here, and we got another special guest this week. He's back-to-back NWT championship winner, Tom Wynn.
Hey guys, how's it
How's it
going?
going, Tom?
Good, good. I watched that intro just now, and you know what you need to add on that?
I bet
What's
I know.
that?
A walleye.
How did I say it?
No, the intro, the intro video.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
We got to get a cool clip of you holding up a big trophy, which we should
Hey,
have at least two of by now, right?
well, the one was broken. If you guys saw that on our way in, like my NWT championship trophy was like shattered. So they're sending me a brand new one. So
Oh, wow. Was that from you holding it up too fast or what?
No, I'm not strong enough to pick it up that fast. So it was broken and shipping, I guess. But
Dang.
but yeah,
So,
yeah,
you're gonna have a broken one and
yeah,
hopefully a fixed one?
yeah. You know how the NWT trophy has like a giant walleye on the side?
Yep.
The walleye was broken off and like into like 20 pieces. The rest of it's fine. So I'll keep the other one in case people forget that I haven't won three. And then
That's
but
right.
it'll be good for sponsors. Hey, look, I won three.
Exactly. Yep.
So,
Look good in the trophy room.
Yeah.
tell us, Tom, a little bit about the season on the National Walleye Tour and where the championship was, and just kind of leading up to that event.
Yeah, so the National Walleye Tour consists of 4 regular season events, which are qualifiers for the championship, and the NWT takes the top 40 through ALY points to fish that championship at the end of the year. And this year, the lineup of tournaments had me, a little. I wouldn't say worried. I was, anticipating, the big lakes and stuff like that. I'm getting where I'm getting pretty good at them and breaking them down. But rivers still, I just still have a problem going out there and breaking down those rivers. But so on our first tournament of the year was out in Pierre, South Dakota, and out there on the Missouri River. I ended up having a 7th place finish out of there, which is unbelievable. But I owe it all to my co-angler. He just bomb casted a Black Tungsten Jig with a minnow out way out the back downstream of where we were fishing, and ended up catching a 5-pounder, which put us at in the top 10 that tournament. And then the next one was on the Mississippi River in La Crosse. Before the season started, I was looking forward to that one the most because the last couple years, I've been actually doing well on river systems because I've been going into these backwaters where a lot of us go to catch bass typically and catching these big walleyes. And so I was looking forward to La Crosse, but it's one thing that I didn't have prepared was considering that we were in a low water year, and La Crosse, those backwaters where the weeds and stuff are, you could barely get back into them. And if you got back into them, they were just real shallow. And a lot of those fish had been pushed out to the main river. So I had to fish that. I came in I think 40th someplace, which, I can't complain about too much, but that was the worst finish I've ever had other than zeroing back on the Detroit River back on my second year doing this. But then we go to Lake Huron, and had a 14th place finish there. Lake Erie, a 14th place finish, and sitting in the, I think, 9th or 8th place or 7th. I don't know, 7th place coming into this AOY wise. I didn't have a shot to take Angler of the Year coming into the championship, but I,
So,
just
what were
yep.
your thoughts, on how the season had been going so far leading up to this event?
I thought it was going just fine. Like other
Mhm.
than that river event, I was happy with where I was finishing, competing with the best in the world. You know, we have one major walleye circuit, and to be able to compete against all the traveling pros and also just these really good locals that jump in and have a top 10 AOI finish is great. And then so coming into this tournament, you know, I was happy with my season. I really was. And just going into Green Bay though, like I've always liked my tournaments in Green Bay because I catch big fish. But coming into this tournament, we've gone there every year, but I've never caught a tournament limit on Green Bay before this trip. So, you know, people at the tournament meetings, people in interviews would ask me, you know, are you cracking them? People just assume that
Yeah.
I'm catching 20, 30, 40 fish a day wherever I go. But no, you know, 2 days out there, me and Sean Graham's, he pre-fishes with me. 2 days we caught one fish. One day I think we caught 8. 2 days we caught 6, but it was not a lot of fish. But I would tell people if I do catch a limit, it's going to be a good limit. Like they're big fish. So I don't think I've ever caught a real small fish on Green Bay, which is it's a unbelievable place. The fish are they're not easy to catch. The population there is really good from what I can see with my live scope, but there's so many gobies at all times of years on the bottom over there. That's how they get so fat, but that's also why they don't eat our baits. And during the early part of the summer, you know, you got the alewives that move in to Green Bay, and that also makes those fish hard to catch. So very healthy system, but um, yeah, I was excited to get to the end of that tournament, and I was shooting for 34 pounds on day one. That's what I was hoping
Yeah.
for, and those numbers ended up flipping, and I had 43.
Wow.
I remember when I think you had texted Charlie a couple days before or whatever, and you were just telling him like you were worried about getting the limit, like you said.
Mhm.
So when I saw the watched you weigh in with 43 pounds, I was like, well, Tom must have caught the fish that he wanted to catch.
Yeah, and on day one, I can't even remember. I think maybe I threw back one fish that day because it was a
Wow.
6. We could put 6 fish in our live well, but there's no culling. So once that fish hits the live well, you can't take it out, right? So we
Mhm.
had to make decisions on the fly. So my my goal was to keep all 7-pounders that day. So I think I did keep. I didn't. I kept. No, I threw back everything in that 6-pound range on day one,
Wow.
which is crazy to me to think that I will do that. But we all knew, like, you know, I was there the 5 days prior, 6 days prior, and our forecast held true. The extended forecast showed that we're going to have really, really high winds over the weekend, and it almost looked like one day for sure would have been canceled, but possibly two there for a while. And so we all knew going in that when we did get to fish, we have to go all out. You know, we have to go fish aggressive, except for Dewey. You know, I understand, you know, in his position to go out and fish conservatively
Mhm.
to come away with that AOI. But the rest of us, you know, went out with the mentality that we got to go big. Now, can all of us fish that way when it comes right down to it? Probably not. But my co-angler, the look on his face when I told him that we're only keeping 7-pounders, you know, it was like, are you kidding me? But we ended up on day one with one almost 10-pounder, 2 over 9, and the rest in that 7-8 pound range. It was crazy.
Wow. So like how
Wait.
how many did you let go before you put one in the live well?
None, I don't
Okay.
think. The one we let go, I think, was kind of in the middle somewhere. I think it was in the middle of when we started catching them. And on day one, I was back to the dock maybe hour and 45 minutes early to
Mhm.
weigh in
Okay.
because once you get that 6 fish in there, you just got nothing else to do. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then the next day, so I had a pretty good cushion over second place, and like 3 pounds, 4 pounds, something like that, but 5 over like Isaac and Eric, the guys who, live out there. They make their living out there guiding. And those are the guys I was the most concerned with. No disrespect to any of the other top 10s. Anybody in that top 10 can win any tournament anytime. But being on their home body of water and with that blow day coming the next day, after day one, we all sat at home because, the wind was crazy. There was a gale warning. The buoys out where I was fishing that day said there was 8 to 10 footers with the occasional 12, and so I was concerned that on Great Lakes that those winds can really move water temps around, and my concern was like real life whenever I went out there on day 3. Like I got out there, put down on the same spot. I only fished one spot on day 1. Like I didn't start the big motor till I came back to the dock. And so I only fished one area, and that area was completely void of any life whatsoever. I didn't see a minnow, a junk fish, well, nothing. And so I'm scanning through there, didn't see anything. I get to the end of my stretch, and I'm like, in my brain, I'm telling myself, go through it again. You probably missed something. But then I'm like, Tom, you're kind of good at this. You didn't see anything. Forget about it. And I was like, I just went to the second spot. Second spot, exactly the same thing. The water temp was like 7 or 8 degrees colder than it was when I was there last. And I teach people this through the university. I teach people this through social media and podcasts on Great Lakes. If your water temp dips, whether it's within one day or a couple days, it doesn't matter. If it dips, you can't fish it. They're gone. They're not going to, it's not that they won't bite. They're just gone. So I just get on my boat, on my big motor, start heading through those big waves. I started heading east. That's what the direction the wind was blowing for days. And I get a couple miles away, and I start noticing on my graph that all of a sudden the water temp went from 58 to about 63, just like real quick. So I kind of did a turn, and I went back to where that change started kind of trickling down a little bit, and I stopped, put the big motor, or put the trolling motor down, start scanning, instantly saw bait fish, instantly started seeing suckers on the bottom. Like, all right, so there's some life. So I hadn't pre-fished that area at all. So, but I was like, this is where I've got to do it. And in my mind, I'm telling myself, Tom, you're going to zero in this tournament. Like I was trying to go ahead and make myself realize you had a great day 1, but that's all the weight you're going to have for this tournament. But first fish I saw was a 4-pound walleye. I caught it, and it was on camera. I had a camera guy from the NWT, and I held onto that fish for probably a minute or more because I'm like, should I keep it? Should I not? End up throwing it back, thankfully now. But then, just start scanning around. Caught a 6-pounder, put that in the box, about a 6 3/4, put it in the box, and caught 3 fish, caught an 8-pounder while the camera guy was in there. And then there was a little bit of a lull. And then I started realizing something. So again, I had not touched my big motor. So, and these waves were big. I have a 75-inch shaft Kraken trolling motor, and the trolling motor is coming out of the water. That's how like big these waves were. So I was going with the waves, and then I would turn and come back into the waves slower, of course. And I was going, fighting those waves. But what I would notice is my water temp, as I would work my way into the waves back towards the west, my water temp would slowly start to decline. So then I kept staying ahead. So my tracks on my graph, on my mapping, you can see where I gradually start doing the searching, but then I'm just doing these ovals, but then it ends up being a spiral because I'm just spiraling and working my way west, east, working my way east. There was a wall of cold water that was pushing through, and as we were fishing, it was pushing through, and that was my structure. That's what I ended up finding. Like, wait a minute, there's way more fish right here at this wall of cold water. And so when I figured that out, I got right on that edge, started searching, and we caught three more in no time, and we were back to the dock by 12:45. So I went like 3 hours not catching a fish to, figuring out, like I said it before a few years ago, structure doesn't have to be something hard, or doesn't have to be um, a, it can be a living thing. Like in Lake of the Woods one time, I was using a school of saugers as my structure, basically, and this was kind of the wall of cold water. It was crazy to see that
Wow.
pile of fish.
It's almost always some sort of transition,
Mm-hmm.
like structured or
Yeah,
transition.
yeah,
What was
yeah.
what was the difference in water temp in that cold water wall as you went?
So it was 57 degrees, the cold water,
Okay.
and within, I'd say, 80 yards, 100 yards, it was already like 52 or 62, 63.
Wow.
It was like a big change really quick. The other person I think that may have pieced that together, because him and I, for some reason, we end up sharing a lot of the same water, and that's Dylan Nussbaum. He was out there by me, and so I was on my trolling motor the whole time fishing that stretch, and he was like, he would drift it and search with the wind, and then he'd get it back on his big motor, go upwind and search back. But I think toward the end of the day, I think he may have got keyed in on that where that water temperature break was, and he ended up getting his fish there too.
Cool.
Wow.
So like
That sounds
how far in between were the fish that you were finding? Is it like, you're just seeing one, keep going, then you'd see another one? Like how bunched up were they? Or
Well,
how far did you have to search between fish?
yeah, so at first, those first three we caught were kind of spaced out. Like, I would cast at probably 10 to get one to bite. And that's a really good, actually, percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Usually sometimes it's in the hundreds before you get one to bite, but I wasn't seeing that many fish there. So I would be, going around panning, I'd say, when we first started catching them, every 30 minutes, every 40 minutes, I'd catch one in those first three. Then those next three is whenever I started just like following that line of cold and warm water. And
Mm-hmm.
those next three, it was like, wow, like there was a bunch of them. Just like they were along the bottom in packs, like swimming in packs. And that's not like I had to be like, let's see which one's the biggest fish in that group. They were all big.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just made those casts in those little packs, and that's it ended up working out. And yeah, I caught them on the standard, like last year I on Lake Huron, all I threw was the Black Tungsten Jig. There's no
Yeah.
secret that's my favorite thing. And then this year, same thing, but I mixed it up because of the weight. So the Black Tungsten jigs, on the heaviest is the 3/8.
Yep.
But in that wind, I wanted something a little heavier, so I went with a 1/2 ounce smeltinator head to get it down a little faster, and that ended up being key when that wind was just whipping out there.
Wow.
Yeah. And you told me, but why don't you tell everyone else, how deep were these fish that you're targeting?
Between 30 and 45 feet. On day one, the sweet spot was about 42 feet. It just that part changed. So even in practice, sometimes it was in that like high 20s, like 28. Then one day it'd be like 32, 33. And then it was just a matter, I don't know what influenced that, but I would so the area I was fishing is the islands area. It's a Chambers Island is up there. It's a very well known area of Green Bay to fish. Chambers Island is a huge piece of structure, giant piece of structure. And on the top is all rocky and stuff like that. The top of it is as shallow as like maybe 15, 16 feet in some areas. and around it it's a vast area of rock, and then it just gradually dropped into the basin of Green Bay. So up in the rock, it was holding fish all the time. Like there was walleyes up there all the time. The problem is where there's rock, there's a bunch of gobies, and there were some giant schools of smallies. I caught some 5-pound smallies out there, and I'm like, never thought I'd be irritated at a smallmouth that big, but I'm like, come on, get off my bait.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I have a couple waypoints for you guys if you ever go out there. It's
Appreciate
great.
that now.
But they just were, the gobies in those rocks would annihilate whether if it was a reaction bait, you'd come up with the goby about every time. If it was a crawler or plastic, you just feel them like little piranhas down there. So I ended up sliding deeper until I could see where there was about, I'd say 10%, 10 to 20% rock and the rest mud. And then I didn't have the gobies to compete with, and that was very key in me staying in those certain depths.
Gotcha. So you're just able to present your bait a lot better. Can you
Yeah.
see the gobies on your live? Or are they so close to the bottom that it's hard to?
They're so close to the bottom you can't. There's times when you lift your bait and you can see the little suckers like just following it. They actually don't come too high up. You know how a perch will follow your bait almost all the way to the surface? The gobies won't. They'll just come up maybe a couple feet, and you can see the little guys following your bait, but they're just littered down there.
Wow.
No wonder the walleyes and bass are so big.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. Like I just imagine, like if you went down there like diving and looking, my goodness, it has to be just crawling with them down there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so this structure is at, way offshore then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's vast. I mean, Chambers Island, there's an actual island, actual over the land, over the water island. But the structure, the underwater piece of Chambers Island is actually bigger than the actual part that's sticking out of the water, if that makes sense. Like it's just a big structure. If the water level went down 25 feet, you'd have a big piece of land out there.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And so you're fishing crawlers?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Crawlers. I mixed up some reaction baits in practice, and they just weren't wanting them. Like this year, I've been trying to use reactionary baits more just to sharpen my arsenal a little bit, and I've won some tournaments. I won the Dakota Walleye Classic on a reactionary bait, and Lake Erie was probably 80% on a reactionary bait. So I'm trying to, dial things in, think of things to make things better. But it is that jig and crawler when things get tough, and it's within the rules to use live bait. I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
I ain't
For
scared.
sure.
Yeah. 100%. That had to been I'm just trying to imagine you pinpointing giant walleyes in 30 to 40 feet with a 3/8 ounce jig and 4 or 5
Mhm.
footers. That had to
Mhm.
I mean, I
Mhm.
know you're one of the best at it, but I mean you gotta
That
be so
takes
mild.
Yeah, that takes a lot of patience trying to, I'm sure
Mhm.
you see one and you're like, okay, I got to get the perfect cast
Yep.
on this. Let me get the boat in the right position.
Mhm.
And I just can't imagine doing that in those giant waves and the
Yep.
pressure, especially after, your first spot not working out.
Yeah. And to but it's I don't know what it is. Like my boat control is good. Like I'm like very, very, very confident in my boat control. Anytime I see big winds in the forecast, for some reason my mind dreads it. But then in reality, every single big water, big wave, bad weather tournament we've had, I've won or done extremely well. So
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm like that. I don't know why I'm like, oh no, it's gonna be freaking 5-footers again. But then here we are. But those 3/8 ounce jigs, or even half ounce in this case, they fall slow, but in that kind of a bite, you have to, that's what it takes. If your jig's falling too fast, like I heard some guys using 3/4 ounce jigs, and I'm like, but it's a patience thing too. They want to get it down there, or in Green Bay or in the Great Lakes, there's a lot of underwater current. So these fish are constantly moving. So there's a whole bunch of physics, geometry, whatever you want to call it, where with forward facing sonar, I know which way or which angle the fish is swimming. So I try to lead it to fall. And I sometimes have to cast 60 to 80 feet in front of the fish to get that jig just to pendulum down right in front of its face.
Wow.
And to do that with a 3/8, it sometimes takes me a few casts, but that is the key, is having that slow, boring fall, because walleyes are absolutely lazy. Like if it falls put too fast by them, they see it, but they're like, forget it. I keep that thing right in front of their nose and force them to follow it and then eat it. But yeah, it takes patience, and it takes boat control is huge. But a lot of people are getting it now. A lot of people are getting that part of boat control down. But now what a lot of guys need to work on is that patience of using something light. And they're going to be good. Like I think Jake Cahy, he's an up and comer big time. He's going to win a tournament here in the next couple of years. There's no doubt in my mind. He's coming out of nowhere, learning this forward facing. And him and I don't talk a lot, but from how I've heard how he fishes, he uses a lot of really light stuff too. And look how good he's done in the last couple of years. So there's something to be said for that.
I saw this year you had like the crappie brakes on your boat. Did you utilize those much this year?
I just put them on right before this championship. So the guy from Power Breaks, I met him at the Classic this year. And so we didn't get in touch till like after, right around the time I was in Erie, which is the last qualifier. And I didn't have time to put him on for Erie. So I had him put on right before this championship. And my goodness, I'm happy that I did, because and it's the company's called Power Breaks. And basically it's the two trolling motors attached to your power poles in the back, and huge help, because I'm not one to use drift paddles. People have known that I've used dual power poles for the few years now, and I think people thought that was my secret. Like, oh, he has dual power poles. That's his secret to his success in boat control. It's not. Like, I put drift paddles on my boat a couple years ago. It was the most annoying thing to me personally ever. It slowed me down too much. Like, I think I live scope faster than probably anybody who live scopes, and those just slowed me down way too much. Now with these power brakes, you drop your power poles down about halfway or so in the water, and up front by my trolling motor pedal, I have two stop switches, a red one and a green one. And the red one, it, like you say, I'm searching with the wind. In those giant waves, I'm searching with the wind fast, and I see a target. I see a fish I want to cast at. Instead of blowing over that fish or having to turn my trolling motor around to thrust it to put the brakes on, I just push the red button, and you just feel it. Like your body goes forward a little bit because of the brakes. It stops you and perfectly straight. You're not like one way or the other.
Yeah.
And I can make that cast and stay away from that fish. And that was super, super key in this tournament for me.
Wow.
How many guys were utilizing that this year on the trail? I think Dewey had them.
Does Dewey have them? He might.
I believe so.
Yeah, he might. I know Eric does. Eric McCoy got them put on just right before I did. But at the beginning of the season, I don't think anybody had them. But I put them on, just right before that. Eric had them on at Erie, so he got to utilize them there. But huge. And then I want to figure out. So, like I said, there's a red stop button and a green one, and that green one is going to be key for me. because it's going to let me search even faster. You know, so that's going to be cool there. And so, yeah, definitely my next year's boat will have them, and I'm going to see if I can get a higher pound thrust on there.
Those are pretty.
So
What are they,
the
like
green
30-pound thrust or something?
These are, if I'm not mistaken, I think these are 40,
Okay.
around 40, and but I'm going to see if we can put something stronger on. I don't know. I'm going to help the guy, the owner of the company. We're just going to brainstorm, see what we can do without ripping these power poles off with thrust.
So the green ones obviously go forward.
Yeah, it propels you forward. Yep.
You
Yep.
don't have those
And
big
so,
waves pushing you.
yeah. Yep. Yep. Big waves push, or even on calm water. Like I say, you're searching on calm water, and you have the trolling motor pulling you. But then if you stop, you push down on that green button as you're going to keep, to build up, even if it's a half mile more, a little bit faster, more water you're covering. So in a day, 8-hour tournament day, you're covering 4 extra miles.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of fishing, and
Yeah.
more fish you can chase down.
Yep. For sure.
Let's
Mhm.
let's go back to, you caught your 6 fish on day 2. Did you think you had enough to win when you got to the dock?
Or were you kind of upset that you put some of those 6-pounders in to start start your bag,
Both.
knowing that there was, some more big ones down there?
Yeah, both. I told my co-angler, Gary Slagle, such a cool guy. We got to fish together both days. And so I told him, I'm like, we can't gamble too much. After we had 3 or 4 in the box, I'm like, we can't gamble too much. But I told him, I think we need 35, 36 pounds to stay, to make it close, to be comfortable. And so yeah, once we got that 6 fish, though, it was a 29-inch 8-pounder. Threw that in the box, and I'm like, we're looking at the clock. I'm like, well, I'm relieved because we got done early, and we can get back to the dock slow and safe. Because you're waiting for that 6 fish, and you got an hour to get back. It took me over an hour to get back 15 miles, right?
Wow.
So I was happy to be done, but when I got back to the dock, I was the first one back, and then Jake Cahy comes around the corner a little bit later. I'm like, and like, man, he's so good. And then boats start trickling in a little bit, one after the other. And the one I was dreading the most coming around that corner was Isaac, because once the cold water pushes fish out, if anybody knows where to go, it's going to be him.
Yeah.
And or Eric McCoy, he was still out there fishing too. But those guys, I had a 5-6 pound lead, 5-pound lead over them or something like that. But those guys were capable. Those are the guys I was least looking forward to seeing their boats come back around that corner. But for good reason. I mean, Isaac, he caught him. He caught
Yeah,
a little over 43 pounds. Yeah. And the thing is, I weighed my fish when I got back before anybody got to the docks. I weighed them. And one thing I've learned this year, for anybody out there watching, no matter what brand of scale I used, or like Corey Springle, he had the same experience on his scale this year. But on the water, when you weigh your fish in your boat on the water, they weigh less than they do on solid ground. And so I weighed my fish. So I had my scale showed light, but I was just thinking, I'm in there, I'm like, please don't let this actually be right for this time. Like, it showed a little bit light. So when Isaac weighed, I was like, dang it, he beat me, based on what my scale said. But then I'm holding out hope. Please let this still be accurate as far as weight. And so, yeah, I was estimating, I'm like, this is going to be really close. And it really was close. And when I went up on stage to talk before he let me bring my basket up, my mind was just going everywhere. I don't even know what I said up there really. And so then he told me to go get my basket. I come back up, set it on the scale, and it's like slow motion watching that thing tick up. It hit 38 and it just kept going. I'm like, yes. Like,
You needed like 38.3 or something, right?
yeah,
38.2 or 38.3.
38.2. I think I had like 38. Was it 12, 11
Yeah.
or 12,
Yep.
something? But it was just the craziest feeling. And it, not even to have it 2 times in a row at the time, it was just the craziest feeling just to have that one, and like just thinking like it, and then just start thinking, dude, it's just happened twice. Like, and I don't understand it, guys. Like, I'm on this little bit of a roll, and I don't understand how it keeps happening with all of this good competition. Everybody's learning this. Everybody's so good, but there has to be a reason. Like, I've come to the conclusion now, just on that drive home, there's a reason for all of this, and I'm going to keep the pedal down until I figure out what exactly this reason is. Because it's just awesome being able to teach not just tournament anglers, but everybody, but then still be able to go out there and compete and keep learning, and then in turn just give it right back. And
Right.
it's making everybody so much better. It's making like the weights. It was a record weight for Green Bay, so it's just going to keep trickling up, keep getting better. And I'm happy to, just super thankful to be part of it.
Yeah, no, I remember when I've told you this on the phone on your after the tournament, but when you went up to on stage before you weighed your fish in, I mean, you sounded like you didn't catch them. I mean, you told the fans on stage like you fished your first two spots, not a fish there, and you had to bring in what you caught. And I mean, I was already writing you off, Tom. I was like, Charlie, we were in the parking lot. We had just got off the water, and Charlie was right beside me. I'm like, Tom doesn't have them. He's, and then you bring it up, and it surprised us for sure.
Well, I wasn't lying though. I brought in what I caught, but I streamed live, right? So it cut out after a couple hours or so. But even on the live there, like, it stresses me out even watching it now after the fact, like getting out there, and I didn't make a cast on those first two passes, and those are my two
Two
key
areas.
areas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I didn't know. Like, when I went up there, I honestly had thought I didn't beat Isaac, but um, it just the emotions and stuff after just everybody, like, all the congratulations from the guys who stayed, from the NWT to hang out and watch the weigh in and stuff like that. And it was just cool. Good. It was an awesome experience. And, I'd like to try to give it another whirl.
That's right.
For sure. No, I remember watching. I was yelling like with excitement. Other people are probably like, "What is he cheering about over there?" But I was like, dude, I was like trying to think back on it too. I'm like, that's back to back, right? Like back to back champs. I was trying to, clarify in my head. I'm like, that's back to back championships for Tom.
Yep.
Super
Yep.
sweet.
Yeah.
Pretty
Back
much
to back.
it's pretty much right to the day, wasn't it?
Same exact day.
Wow.
Same exact day. Year to the date. I didn't realize it until one of the Steve, one of the guys who runs with the NWT to help organize and stuff. He told me it was like 1 year ago today. He told me that morning. He goes, go out there. He's like, go out there and do it again. 1 year
Yeah.
ago today. And then
Wow.
afterwards, when I had to go take my polygraph test, the lady that administered it, when I walked in there, she started giving me the spiel on the ins and outs of the polygraph, what it is and everything. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you're good. I have a long drive ahead of me. I have to get back to the weigh-in to collect my boat and everything. So, I mean, we can skip that she goes, "You done one of these?" I said, "I've done 2 before." And she looked at me like concerned. She goes, "What for?" I said, "For fishing."
Yeah. For this.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I, just told her, I'm like, yeah, it was 1 year ago today. I told her that too. 1 year ago today, I was taking one of these. So I'll take as many as they want to give me.
Yeah.
Right. I got one of the main questions I want to ask you is what
Yep.
makes you so good on the Great Lakes, especially in September? I mean, Lake Huron, Green Bay, back-to-back champs. What makes you so good on these bodies of water?
I think because they are so big, massive bodies of water, that I fish high percentage areas of water, like stable water temperature. So, in pre-fishing on Green Bay this year, I really wanted to run way up north to Big Bay. Big Bay last year is where I caught that 1 12-pounder in the tournament. It's 32 inches, 12 pounds. So I really wanted to go up there to see if there's any fish up there, but Corey Springle, he knows Green Bay better than literally anybody, any human. And he's like, with these winds predicted, he goes, maybe, you might go run up there and look. But he said, with the winds predicted, number one, the run's going to be brutal. Number two, there's a really good chance that it's going to ice out up there with these big winds. And he was right. I'm glad I didn't go. So I just stayed and focused in that islands area. So from Chambers Island down to the southeast at Hat Island and up north of that to what they call the Sister Islands. That's a big core chunk that I just focus on the entire pre-fish. I didn't fish the west shore of Green Bay, which I know a lot of guys did, and that water temp plummeted during tournament time. And so I am glad I didn't fish over there, but I stay, and I've done this before I ran with the team or anything. I stay in like what I think is my high percentage areas, and I grind them and I figure them out. I'll sit on an area for way too long probably, but I'm learning, like I'm seeing, okay, like if the fish are big but they're sparse, I hang out in an area to see how long it takes me to catch a fish, how long it takes between 2 fish, because me mentally, I tell myself, and you guys probably heard me say it before, I say it in the university, like in a tournament situation, I give myself an hour and a half per fish. And that's what keeps me mentally in the game in a tournament from spinning out. Now, I got way upside down on that on the final day. Like I didn't have any fish in. I'm like, oh. So I'm getting down to where I need a fish every 45 minutes. So then, but then I catch 3 and I'm like, okay, look, hey, I'm back. I'm back to where I was. And then, so that helps me. But then Lake Huron too. So when I was on Huron last year, I fished way farther than anybody else did south because according to the water temperature app and forecast, that water temp down south was the most stable the whole entire week, never changed. And so I, ran down there and I just focused on these areas in practice. So I think that's maybe the difference between me and a lot of people. I just key in on a specific area all week versus the whole entire system. And that way, if something doesn't work out, I don't have to run 40 miles to go to other water, So I'm sure that could come and haunt me at some point, but doing it that way. But so far, I've just found that by concentrating on smaller areas versus running, and just the confidence also in just a handful of baits, that's big time. Instead of saying, oh, well, I went 3 hours and didn't catch a fish. Guess what? There was no fish to even catch. So why do you want to change from your black tungsten to a green one or whatever? You know what I mean? So that's also getting some people's heads. They think because they're not catching something, it has to do with the color, it has to do with this, has to do with that. Where no, just slow down, focus, and trust your electronics. Trust what you've been catching them with all week. So
It's funny you bring up how you give yourself an hour and a half per fish. And I think that's going to sound crazy to a lot of people, but when you're only looking for 5 giants.
Mhm.
It's similar
Yep.
to what I would think as like a bedded largemouth tournament, you know, in the
100%.
springtime. I mean, you're gonna spend as much time as you can if you're sitting on an 8-pounder. It's just
Yep.
like even in the walleye world, but
Yep.
you're not physically looking at them with your eyes, but you know what's there, and
Yep.
yeah,
Well, that's actually how I came up with this strategy, the hour and a half strategy, is from bass fishing and going fishing some of these tournaments in Florida during the spawn and going or listening to guys on stage saying, "Gosh, I spent 5 hours on that thing and it wouldn't bite." I'm like, "Well, yeah," and then you came in with 2 fish,
yeah,
because you're. But it's the same with live scope now. People will spend way too many times on a mark that looks big, and you're wasting too much time, or they're wasting too much time on a mark they think is big and it's really not. So yeah,
mhm,
so that's where in my head I like, okay, I have to just give myself a time limit, and that it's just mostly a thing to keep myself from spinning out too much,
yep,
so. But yeah, it sounds crazy, but that's just what I do, and I try to teach it to people. But when it comes down to it, it comes down to that fortitude. When you're actually in the game, when you're in it real time, can you actually do it?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
How many times have you driven away from a big fish after you've hit that threshold?
a lot. Like I'll cast, and there's a certain reaction I want from that fish, or non-reaction from that fish before I move on. So like if I see one that I know is going to be like for a Green Bay, for example, if I knew one was going to be an 8 to 10 pounder, I would stay on that fish, cast at it as long as it kept showing me reaction of some sort. If it reacted to the bait one way or the other, I would keep casting at it. There comes a point where that fish will stop showing reaction. None.
Mhm.
And that's when I'll stop. Now, stop throwing that one bait. Then, if if he stops showing reaction, I might turn around, throw a reactionary style bait at him or something like that to get a different reaction. And that's worked for me this year. Not a lot, but in the times that it has worked, it's been really, really good
Yeah,
for those big ones. Um, but I'll stay with it until it stops showing me reaction. I think a lot of people will stay with a fish or chase one down, and they're cast, and it just doesn't move. You got to go. You know what I mean? You just gotta move on, go to the next one.
Right. And how frustrating is that when I mean, you got to put a lot of reps into like,
Yeah.
get used to that, but
No,
you
and it's
know.
a lot. So especially like and people hear me talking about this now and they're like, well, they again, there's a lot of people who just think that every fish I see and cast at I'm catching. It's not that case. That's where the frustration comes in, is how many fish do have the reaction that I want, but just fall short of eating it. Like it happens a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. Like in practice, we caught one out of every, I'd say in the practice, it was like one out of every, it was in the hundreds. That's how crazy it was. Like they would not bite. Um, so that gets frustrating, but then but in practice, we had calm weather, un, uncanny calm weather. But then
mhm,
the frustration comes in tournament time. You've got the waves, you've got your trolling motor. I have that long shaft trolling motor, but those waves are so big, it was coming out of the water quite a bit. You got that frustration. You've got the fact that these fish are, because of the waves, there's more current. These fish are moving faster. A light jig, you cast, and then that wind, that 20 some mile an hour wind, is blowing a giant bow in your line. So you
yep,
have to like be on top of that bow. Like when you cast and you're watching your bait go down, if you forget about that bow in your line's like shooting out from your reel. And then by the
Mhm.
time that bait goes down, you're ready to start, you know, fishing for that fish. You got like 14 miles of line you got to reel in before you can start doing anything. Then it's too late. So
Yep.
there's so many things going on. And when you get that really good cast and it doesn't eat, yes, it's frustrating,
Yeah.
but you just have to know when to move on. you have to know when to move on from that fish.
I was
So
thinking
you
about this the other
figure,
day. That just makes it, those creatures seem so cool. They're sitting down there, and it's easy sometimes, but other times they're like, just imagine them sitting down there and looking at your bait, and why are they deciding to eat it, and why are they
Yeah.
not? Like I was,
Yeah.
letting go one of the smallmouth that we weighed in the other day, and I'm just thinking like, these things are so cool. I was throwing at how many other fish that day that decided not to eat, and this one did. Like, it's
Yeah.
just it's just a
Yeah.
really cool thought to think about. They're easy to catch when you get them in the boat, but other times they're down there living, and
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
decide whatever they want.
Yeah, exactly. And I know you guys have thought it. I think it all the time. Like, you guys probably think like, especially fishing like Minnesota, you're like, how many 7-pound smallies, how many 8-pound largemouth have come to look at my bait
Yeah,
and not freaking eat it? And so, like me with these walleyes too, I'm like, how many 14-pounders,
yeah,
which I've never caught anything like it, but how many have actually gone and look at that? And that's one of those fish that we're sitting there. And I'm pretty confident in practice. I had one in practice that bit me 4 times, and I actually had it on the hook 2 of those times that I didn't get in. That was absolutely the biggest mark I've ever seen.
wow,
And yeah, in practice, but same, like, God, yeah, they don't. How many go to look that don't care about your bait? How many, like you said, they're just down there living. Like,
yeah, they're just down there living.
when it comes to, a lot of guys, you brought up like color wise, like obviously black is your confidence color. Some
Mhm.
guys talk about the moon phase or bite windows. Like, is there any other thing that you find more important than just presenting your bait correctly?
No, I mean, we had a full moon, I think, out there. I think I remember one evening we were out there, and I said, "Oh, Corey, there's a full moon, I think." He goes, "Yeah, it's full moon." I'm like, "Huh." Like,
Yeah.
whatever. And so I don't really look into all that other stuff. Don't Biggest thing now on the Great Lakes I look at is that water temperature.
Yeah.
That to me is the key. And as far as confidence, I don't know if there's any better confidence for what I'm doing than something completely natural, because we don't need the fish to come find our baits.
Right.
We're
Mhm.
Yeah.
we're putting it right there for them. And so now it's just a matter of giving them something, making those fish comfortable, and with what we're presenting to them. And that's why I think, like, I like the black and gold, the green and the weed type instances. And I I just, that to me, that's my confidence bait. Sean, he had a glow watermelon 3/8 inch ounce jig, tungsten tied on. And so one of mine, I think, broke off or on a zebra mussel or something, and he just handed me that one because he didn't want to use up my 3/8 ounce black. So he handed me that. He goes, "Here, pitch on that." And there was a fish right there that I had just broke off on zebra mussels on. It was still sitting there. He handed it to me. It was all baited up and stuff, and I was like, looked at him. I'm like, "No." I just couldn't do it. I don't. It's just weird. I'm like, "You want to catch him? Go ahead." But he
Yeah.
didn't. But the fish wouldn't bite. But that's just pure confidence and knowing that what I'm doing is working. So
Mhm.
Sure. One thing I want to get into before we're done here is tell the viewers and the listeners a little bit about your university.
oh yeah.
You've mentioned it a couple times, but for people that don't know about it, talk a little bit about that, because you're giving away a lot of information here that is packed full
Yeah.
into your university.
Yeah. So a couple years ago, a few years ago, when I started doing well, and then Northland was one of the first companies to reach out. And during that time, like, I was getting all these requests for me to jump in somebody's boat. They're going to pay me $1,000, $2,000. Out in the Sakakawea area, I was getting offers for one day. People are going to pay me like $3,000 or $4,000. oil country, So I was like, but I never took one of those trips. I've still to this date never taken an on the water training trip. Number one, it was time. I couldn't just make the time for it at the time. But the other thing is like I was able to take some of my really close buddies fishing. My brother down in Arkansas loves fishing. We'd go out, sometimes for days or a week, but they could see everything I was doing. We'd catch fish, big fish, a lot of fish, bass, walleyes, crappies, whatever. Great fishing. But then they would get out of my boat. They would go home, try to do their own thing. But I would get so many more questions from them than when they were in the boat with me, because there's so many subtle nuances that people aren't getting. They're not seeing by just being in the boat doing everything, because I'm doing everything.
Right.
And they don't my brother, one of his first comments, like the first day we were fishing and I let him take over the trolling motor, I'm like, how does your boat just stay on the fish so well when you're up here? Like, I'm like, dude, it's not the boat. I'm actually on that trolling motor, pulsing the throttle, doing all this to keep on it.
Mhm.
And so people that don't know, and so I was like, okay, I have to come up with something. So I came, thought about the education side, thought of different ways to do it. And so me and a friend of mine came up with this Tomlin University, and it's the first ever curriculum-based fishing education that there is on the web, and it's web-based. It's fishthu.com, and there's a one-time enrollment fee, and you get all of the whole entire course. And
the enrollment fee is not that expensive compared to $1,000 or $2,000 people are trying to pay you.
No. Yeah. No, and so it's reasonable when it comes to that. Plus, when you enroll, it's yours. Like, you can resort back to the lessons anytime you want, as many times as you want. It has around 200 high definition screen recordings showing species identification. It shows what walleyes look like. It shows what all these junk fish species look like on forward facing sonar. And it shows what largemouth look like, how largemouth relate to weeds. And it is not just exclusive to Garmin, even though all of my screen recordings I'm using my Garmin screens. Over 30%, actually it's creeping up towards 40% of my enrollees now use either Lowrance or Humminbird, and their confidence levels are through the roof, because forward-facing sonar technology is relatively the same across every brand. That what differentiates it is the processing behind each one of them. So I'm still able to show people what these species look like no matter what brand they're using, and it's been absolutely overwhelming. It hasn't been a year yet since I've released it, and I've far surpassed my goal in a year a long time ago. It's been crazy. It's daily. Like, I literally, as soon as right before I logged into go to my email here, I get another picture from a family with them holding walleyes, and there's a picture of their live well full of walleyes for their fish fry this last weekend. And he's like, we never have caught a limit of walleyes before, and we took your classes, and now we know what they look like, and him and his kids are going out and having fun. So it's almost a daily thing now with that, and it's awesome. So just to be able to teach, that there's a lot of tournament anglers who have this as well. But yeah, we're in 40 some states, almost in 50 states of enrollees, 20 some countries, and just hoping to, expand, keep teaching, and also starting some lake or body of the water specific content and courses as well. So yeah, it's all about the education. If anybody out there wants to know how to make it as a professional angler these days, making a living fishing tournaments, don't even think you can make a living off of tournament winnings. It's not. That's tough. That's but education is where it's at, and you have to teach. Don't lie about anything when you're teaching, and people will buy what you're using because it's effective. They go catch fish, and you earn that trust, and that's what it's all about.
Sure. Now
That's
that
awesome.
the coolest thing I think about your university is you're not. I mean, you're showing people how to target and catch big fish too, but you're also
Yep.
showing them how to catch all the fish.
Yeah.
Or it's not just people are going out and be able to catch limits, like you said.
Yep.
It's not
Yeah.
just targeting the big fish as well.
No, it's like I said, I didn't create the university for tournament anglers. Tournament anglers, we're looking for big fish, but
Mhm.
I didn't. I mean, tournament anglers are the size or this big, whereas the fishing community as a whole is as big as the state, right? So it's like it's there for everybody. Like I do show people what big fish look like, but it's mostly for anglers who of any skill level who want to go out there and get better. It doesn't matter how good you are. There's going to be little subtle little things, even if it's something that I don't mention or talk about in one of my lessons. But you have so much experience, but you see one little tiny subtle detail. And you're like, wait a minute, did he just make his bait do that? Did he do that? Those little things, everything, all those things add up and help become just more efficient, and I'm going to keep doing it.
Good deal. That's awesome.
That's awesome. Just, it's a small investment for anyone who's got forward-facing sonar on their boat and wants to, learn and improve and catch more fish.
Yeah, it is, and I appreciate you guys. And if anybody has any questions on that university too, reach out through the university website. Again, it's fishthu.com, or find me on social media at Tom Wynn Fishing and ask me whatever.
Good
Awesome.
deal. Thanks, Tom. Back-to-back
No
champ.
problem,
National Walleye Tour
Thank you, guys.
championship winner. Back-to-back winner.
That's
Yeah,
right.
appreciate you. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Tom.
Oh, there we go. Oh my gosh, this is